The phone slipped from my fingers, clattering onto my desk. Through the speaker, I could still hear Marcus chuckling, pleased with himself for what he thought was the ultimate betrayal. My name is Diana Chen, and my husband had just given my family's generational beach house to his 26-year-old mistress. You're too quiet, Marcus said, his voice dripping with smug satisfaction. No tearful breakdown. No begging? I expected more drama from you, Di. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. The house was my inheritance, Marcus. My grandfather built it. And now it belongs to someone who'll actually appreciate it. When's the last time you even visited? You're too busy with your consulting work to enjoy anything. The irony of his words almost made me laugh. My consulting work, the business he dismissed as my cute little hobby, had been funding my systematic acquisition of his company's shares for the past year. You're right, I said calmly. I've been very busy. In fact, I should go. I have a shareholders meeting to prepare for tomorrow. Shareholders meeting, his voice sharpened. What are you talking about? Oh, didn't you know? I'm attending a Parker Industries annual meeting. See you there, darling. I hung up before he could respond, savoring the moment. Marcus had always underestimated me, seeing me as nothing more than a convenient corporate wife who looked good at company events. He never bothered to understand what I actually did for a living. When we met 5 years ago, I was already a successful business consultant specializing in corporate restructuring. But Marcus, riding high as CEO of his family's company, only saw what he wanted to see, a beautiful woman who seemed impressed by his success. I should have recognized the red flags early on. The way he dismissed my career, his constant need to remind me of his importance, how he'd interrupt me in meetings to explain things I already understood. But I'd been blinded by what I thought was love. The beach house had been my wake-up call. 6 months ago, I'd overheard him on the phone with Sarah, his much younger VP of marketing, planning weekend getaways there. My grandfather's house. The place where I'd spent every summer growing up, where my parents had gotten married, where I'd learned to swim and surf and dream. That's when I started looking more closely at Parker Industries' financials. What I found was troubling. Questionable accounting practices, inflated projections, and a board of directors too cowed by Marcus's family name to question anything. Marcus had no idea that while he was romancing Sarah at my family's beach house, I was meeting with institutional investors, pointing out discrepancies in the company's reports, suggesting that perhaps new leadership was needed. I picked up my phone and dialed my attorney, Rachel Kim. He did it, I said when she answered. He actually transferred the beach house to her. Rachel's typing was audible in the background. Perfect. That's the last piece we needed. Property transfer documents have already been flagged for the SEC investigation. How did he sound? Smug. He still has no idea about tomorrow. None of them do, Rachel confirmed. The shareholders are ready. The board members who flipped are keeping quiet. Everything's in place. I walked to my window, looking out at the city skyline where the Parker Industries building dominated the view. Marcus had chosen our penthouse apartment specifically for this vista. He liked being able to see his family's legacy towering over everything. What about the other documentation? I asked. The proof of his relationship with Sarah, the misuse of company funds. All ready to go. We have records of every business trip they took together, every gift he bought her with company money, including the recent renovations to your beach house, which, by the way, we'll be getting back. The transfer won't hold up in court, especially given the timing with the SEC investigation. I smiled, remembering how Marcus had laughed at me for being boring and obsessed with documentation, when I insisted on keeping detailed records of everything. A good consultant is only as valuable as their documentation, I told him once. He dismissed it as another one of my quirky habits. One more thing, Rachel added. Sarah sold her shares yesterday, just like you predicted she would. Dumped everything as soon as Marcus gave her the beach house. Of course she did, I said. Marcus never understood that loyalty can't be bought. But disloyalty usually comes with a price tag. I opened my laptop, reviewing the presentation for tomorrow's shareholders meeting one last time. The numbers were damning. Under Marcus's leadership, Parker Industries had been hemorrhaging money while maintaining a facade of success through creative accounting and his family's reputation. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. What game are you playing? You're not a shareholder. I didn't respond. Let him wonder. Let him spend the night trying to figure out how his wife, the one he dismissed and betrayed, could possibly be a threat to his position. The truth was both simple and devastating. I'd spent the past year buying up shares through various shell companies and investment groups. Marcus, so confident in his position as CEO, hadn't even noticed the shifting ownership patterns. By the time he gave away my beach house, I controlled enough shares to call for a vote of no confidence. Tomorrow, Marcus Parker would learn that the wife he underestimated had become his biggest threat. The beach house was just the final insult. The last push I needed to execute the plan I'd been crafting since I discovered his affair. As I prepared for bed that night, I heard my phone buzzing repeatedly. Marcus probably finally putting the pieces together. I turned it off, remembering something my grandfather used to say about the beach house. The best view comes after the hardest climb. Tomorrow, I'd show Marcus exactly how high I climbed while he wasn't paying attention. The morning of the shareholders' meeting dawned clear and cold. I arrived at Parker Industries headquarters early, nodding to security guards who knew me only as the CEO's wife. Today, that would change. The boardroom filled quickly. I sat quietly in the back, watching Marcus work the room. He'd always been good at this part, the handshakes, the fake laughs, the illusion of control. But today, his smile seemed strained. His eyes kept darting to where I sat, confusion and anger warring on his face. Sarah arrived last, wearing a designer dress that I recognized. Marcus had bought it with company funds, according to the records. She faltered when she saw me, but quickly recovered, taking her seat near Marcus. Before we begin, Marcus announced, standing at the head of the table, I'd like to address some unusual circumstances. My wife seems to have confused her role here today. Actually, I interrupted, standing. I think you're the one confused about roles, Marcus. Rachel, would you please distribute the documents? My attorney began passing out folders containing detailed evidence of Marcus's mismanagement, the affair with Sarah, the misuse of company funds, the questionable accounting practices. But more importantly, proof of my majority shareholding through various investment groups. This is ridiculous, Marcus sputtered, flipping through the pages. These shares. This is impossible. I would have known. Would you? I asked, moving to the front of the room. You were too busy buying beach houses for your mistress to notice that your wife was becoming your biggest shareholder. The room had gone deathly quiet. Board members were reading through the documents, their faces growing increasingly grave. Sarah had gone pale, probably realizing that her recently sold shares had been part of my acquisition strategy. As majority shareholder, I continued, I move for an immediate vote of no confidence in Marcus Parker's leadership and call for his removal as CEO. You can't do this, Marcus said, but his voice had lost its authority. This company is my family's legacy. Was your family's legacy, I corrected. Before you started treating it like your personal bank account. The SEC is very interested in how you've been running things, by the way. Those business trips with Sarah, the creative accounting, it's all documented. One by one, board members began to raise their hands in support of my motion. Marcus watched in horror as his power crumbled. Sarah slipped out of the room. Her resignation would be on my desk by morning. Why? Marcus asked, his voice barely a whisper. Because of the beach house? I laughed, the sound sharp in the quiet room. The beach house was just the final straw. This is about every time you dismissed me, every time you treated me like I was too stupid to understand real business. While you were busy playing CEO and sugar daddy, I was building something you couldn't see because you never bothered to look. The vote was unanimous. As security arrived to escort Marcus from the building, I turned to address the board. Parker Industries has been operating under a facade of success for too long. I've prepared a detailed restructuring plan that will return this company to genuine profitability. My team will be reaching out to each department head to begin implementation immediately. Hours later, after the dust had settled and the last board member had left, I sat in what had been Marcus's office, my office now. My phone buzzed with a text from the real estate attorney. The beach house transfer had been invalidated. Another buzz. The SEC wanted to schedule a formal interview with Marcus. I opened my grandfather's old photo album, the one I kept in my desk. There he was, standing proud in front of the beach house he built with his own hands. Success isn't about what you own, he used to tell me. It's about what you build. I built something all right, Not just a successful consulting business that had funded my takeover, but a strategy that had exposed Marcus's weaknesses and saved Parker Industries from his mismanagement. My phone buzzed again. Marcus, finally, I underestimated you. Yes, I typed back you did. The beach house keys are in your office box. Don't forget to turn in your company credentials. I closed the album and looked out at the city skyline. Marcus had chosen this building because he liked looking down on everything. I chose to keep the office because it reminded me that the best view comes after the hardest climb. The next morning, I arrived early again. Old habits die hard. But this time, when I walked through the Parker Industries lobby, people nodded with respect, not polite dismissal. The security guard smiled. Good morning, Ms. Chen, he said, using my maiden name. The name I used to build my consulting business, the name I take back now that the divorce papers were filed. Good morning, Tom, I replied, heading for the elevator. As I rode up to my office, I thought about Marcus, probably waking up in some luxury hotel, finally understanding what he'd lost. Not just his position or his company, but someone who could have been a true partner if he bothered to see me as an equal. The beach house would need work. Sarah's renovations had stripped away much of its character. But that was okay. Like my grandfather always said, the best things in life are the ones you rebuild yourself. I had a company to run after all, and this time, I'd make sure it was built on something stronger than facades and illusions. I'd make it a legacy worth keeping. Ready to begin? Rachel asked, meeting me at my office with the day's agenda. I smiled, thinking of all the people who'd underestimated me over the years. I've been ready for a long time. Let's build something real.